So we're getting into our first topic, where we're going to really look at how do scientists think. So let's take a look at what the thought process is behind science. First and foremost, why should we even care? Why bother, especially if we're not scientists ourselves? Well, we can think of ourselves as citizen scientists. And scientific thinking isn't just for science. It's a process, it's a mindset, and we can apply that mindset to many aspects in life, not just science. So if we're thinking about it, we're already scientists in our own way. You've probably asked a question before and looked for an answer. And if you've done that in a methodical way, you've done science. Science is a process, not just a bunch of facts. That might be new to you. You might be thinking things like chemistry and biology and other types of sciences are just a bunch of information about the world. But science is actually a process. It's a way for us to understand the natural world around us. The important question that science helps us answer is, how do we know if this is true? That's one of the main questions we're trying to answer. Is what we're seeing or what we're thinking about what we're seeing true? And if we hone in on biology itself, biology is the study of living things. And that's in its entirety. How do living things work? What's the chemical makeup of living things? How do living things interact with each other? How do they interact with other living things? How do they interact with their environment? We're going to be looking at a lot of those relationships as we go through this class. But biology in general is the study of living things as a whole. So we're going to be answering these top 4 questions throughout the semester. These are questions that are really large, really broad questions, and we're going to have smaller questions built into these 4 main ones. Let's go into these 4 main questions. Number 1, what is the chemical makeup of living things, and what do they need to stay alive? Number 2, how does genetic information dictate how living organisms live and reproduce? Number 3, what types of organisms can be found on Earth, and how did such diversity arise? And number 4, how do organisms interact with each other and the environment? So when you're looking at these questions, they're very big questions. And like I said, we're going to have smaller questions built into these to help us find the answers to these really big questions. Another thing that we need to be concerned about as non-scientists, or I should say citizen scientists, is scientific literacy. This is something that no matter who you are, no matter what job you have, your education level, none of that matters, but we all need scientific literacy, which is just a general fact-based understanding of science. We need this because it's necessary for us to make informed decisions in our lives. If you didn't know that pollution was harmful to living things, you might not care about taking care of the environment. You might litter or use lots and lots of single-use plastics. But if you read into it and you find out that, hey, pollution and littering and all of these things are very bad for the environment and bad for living things, that can change your behavior. So having a good basic understanding of science helps us make better decisions that are going to help our own lives and the lives of those around us. Having a basic scientific literacy level is going to help us with how we treat things like the environment, like I said, as well as who we vote for, where we go, what we buy, and many other things that we can do in our lives. So it's very important that we have a basic level of understanding of science. No one's saying that you have to remember the phases of mitosis 10 years from now when you're teaching history at a high school or working in an accounting office. That's not necessarily important, but the process that you use to learn those phases is what's going to help us. So in this class, one of our main concerns is to develop biological literacy. It's our ability to think creatively about world issues, communicate thoughts to others, and integrate those thoughts into our own decision-making process. And it's not just about big issues or abstract ideas. This is something personal. Think about a modern scientific issue that may affect you personally. It doesn't have to be something really large like climate change. It could simply be what's going on in your local government. Or what kind of foods are you choosing to eat? Are you going and getting a vaccine or not? That's something that could affect you personally. Think about it. Think about some of the things that would affect your personal life on a regular basic level. And then think about what are some of the things that you need to know in order to make a good informed decision. If you don't have basic literacy in biology and the sciences as a whole, this puts you at risk. It puts you at the mercy of, quote, experts who can try to manipulate your decisions for personal gain. We'll talk about that in one of our discussion posts for this chapter or for this unit. But there are a lot of people out there who are going to pretend to be experts or pretend to know more about something than you, and they're going to use it for their own personal gain and your potential loss. You don't want to put yourself at the mercy of people who don't have your best interests at heart. And so having a basic literacy gives you some weapons against people who try to manipulate you.